Hello listeners, and welcome to Let's Chat, one of a many an episode where we have a guest speaker sharing their amazing journey towards a better way of being through a teaching, a practice, or from a passion of helping others through mainstream or complementary healing practices. Today we will be chatting with Kevin Schoeninger, author and spiritual teacher and one of the founders of the Raising Our Vibration community. Kevin lives in Colorado, and I first met Kevin and his wife in Glastonbury at the Holy Fire 2 Masters training. And out on the beautiful gardens you would often see Kevin doing Tai Chi, which was so graceful to watch. You could feel the Chi just flowing throughout the gardens. Kevin has a master's degree in philosophy and is a certified personal trainer, life coach, Qigong Meditation Master instructor, and Holy Fire Karuna Reiki Master teacher. Kevin's latest books are Clear the Quiet Mind and Raising Our Vibration, Guide to Subtle Energy Meditation, which he co-wrote. There is also a Raising Our Vibration app which Kevin has been involved with creating, helping to make meditation easier and to elevate our inner state and rise our collective consciousness. Kevin shares his passion for helping us to raise our frequencies to that of peace, love and light across many a platform and medium. So let's join the conversation here. Let's chat with Kevin Schoeninger. Hi Kevin, and welcome to this podcast, A Better Way of Being. It's so good to have you here and joining us.
Oh, hi, Sharon. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Oh, awesome. Kevin, I mentioned a few of the wonderful practices and teachings that you do in the intro, and listeners would already be beginning to, from that intro, understand your level of commitment to helping people towards a better way of being with all that you do and the books that you've written. Can you share with the listeners here, how did it all start? How did it begin to unfold for you to be doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about this. I really take it way back to when I was about 11 years old.
Oh, wow.
And kind of a unlikely starting point, but I'll tell you this little story.
Yeah.
I was standing outside of my fifth grade classroom. We were waiting to go in after lunch, and there was three other of my friends there, guy friends, and they were trading biceps flexes.
Okay.
Right? So they were all going, oh, look at my feel that. And I did that, and nothing happened. I had no muscle. It was just like I went to make a muscle and it was just as soft as it was before. And I was like, oh, that's kind of embarrassing. I have to do something about that. So, and they didn't make fun of me or anything. It wasn't like a traumatic thing. It was just like a little light went on in my body. It's like, oh, that I want to do something about that. And so I started to do strength training. And at 11. Yeah. So so I got a set of weights from a friend of my dad's, and they were in my basement, and I started strength training. And how did that lead me to what I'm doing today? Well, in strength training, first of all, I learned to concentrate on the muscles that I was working. So I learned to really focus my mind and concentrate on just what I was doing, because if you're not concentrating, you're not going to be able to lift the weight, right? So I learned how to concentrate. I also learned to feel inside my muscles, feel what was happening, feel the contraction. So I developed this sense of inner body awareness from that. And from that, I started to really tune into the sensations in my body, get this real sensory clarity. And then, so that was the second thing. The third thing is I learned to, while it was painful, just go through it anyway. I learned to just kind of have equanimity about it, because I wanted to get stronger, right? So I had this bigger intention in mind. And so I was like, oh, the pain is just part of that. So I just learned to be fine with that physical pain.
Yes.
And then the other thing was my muscles started growing, like, pretty quickly. So I learned that if I did this consistent routine, that I could create a change, in this case in my body, but also in my mind, because I started to develop confidence, and I started to feel stronger, not just physically, but also kind of, oh, I can do stuff, right? I can make a change happen. And so I think that really kind of put in my mind that if I want to have something happen in my life different, that I can find out what's the means to do that, and I can apply myself through a regular practice and make a positive change, right? So that was pretty early on, 11, 12 years old.
Absolutely.
And I was seeing results, and it was from this consistent practice, this kind of discipline of doing something for myself, and in the process of it, I learned how to concentrate and develop the sense of body awareness and this sense of practice, like practicing things to change my life. And so that was, I think, the initial kind of spark that led me on this path of these training practices. And the second thing that I would point to was when I was, 1984. So I was 22. I just graduated from undergraduate school in philosophy, and I was about to go into a master's program in a specific type of philosophy, phenomenology, which is the study of consciousness, or the study of how we perceive the world the way that we do. But I was on a little break, summer break in between, and I took this backpacking trip out west, out actually where I live now. And I was from the East Coast of the US and had never been out west. I'd never really been an outdoors person at all. I'd been really kind of a city person. But I spent this month backpacking and just being in nature and spending a lot of time hiking and also just sitting in nature and just gazing out at nature. And initially it was kind of, it was very foreign to me. I didn't really, it seemed like, oh, well, nothing's happening out here. I'm used to the city and all these things. But then over the course of this month, I started to really take in this really spacious open sky and the stillness and the silence of everything. And it started to kind of work on my mind and body. So by the end of that month, I felt my mind was completely quiet and my emotions were calm and my body was really relaxed. And I just had this sense of this deep peace for no reason at all, just being. Yeah. And that kind of lit another spark in my mind. It was like, whatever this is, whatever I'm experiencing in my mind now, I want to know more about this quiet of my mind, this stillness and deep relaxation. And so I came back from that trip really wanting to explore that more in a way of, let me find some practices that talk about this quality of mind and this quality of awareness, and let me learn all about that. And so I think those two moments, first that moment where the light went on about making a change and doing weight training and the skills I developed there, and then that moment of a really altered state of consciousness and saying, well, if I can apply that idea of training to that state of consciousness, this is really a whole different space to live from. Yes. And so I think those two things kind of sent me on this path.
Yeah, and that's, thank you for sharing. That's a wonderful journey, and from such a young age, really, you've had that desire to explore. And you could have been off doing other things, but you persevered. And you, or to me, when you spoke about started your weight training and how you didn't give up. When it got a bit painful, you explored that innerness of what it was doing to you. And then when you got out of the busyness of living in the city and connected with the peace, it's just beautiful that you had that really deep desire within you that has led you to be doing what you're doing now. How fantastic. And one of the things, and I think this will flow straight into with one of the practices, and the movement. We've talked about a bit of movement and finding that inner peace and quiet in the mind. Could you share a bit about Tai Chi and Qigong that you do? Because I do, when I first met, when we were over in the Abbey there in Glastonbury, I do really connect and remember quite clearly the peace that was around you, and even how it spread out in the garden when you were doing your practices, when we were having break times, or even first thing in the mornings with our training there. It just looked so magical in itself, like you're playing with the energy of the chi, and the life force just seemed to glow. And it's not a topic that we've discussed here on the podcast yet. Could you share a bit about this to listeners, the benefits, the practices? It'd be wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, I'd love to. And that flows right, as you said, flows right from this experience I had out in the desert. I came home from that back to the East Coast, back to city, Philadelphia area. And I was on the lookout for, I don't know exactly what this was I experienced, but I'm on the lookout for something that's going to train me and teach me about that. So I received a continuing education flyer in the mail, a little catalog. And I was just leafing through it, and I came upon a page and it said Tai Chi. And I had never heard of Tai Chi before. This was 1984, so it wasn't something like now everybody's heard of it, at least probably seen some examples of it. But back then I had never heard of Tai Chi, but something within me, that thing that was looking for the practice, was like, that. I want to do that. I don't know what it is, but that's what I'm going to go do. And so I signed up for this class. And when I got there, it was exactly what I was looking for. It was this movement practice that brought your mind and your body into deep relaxation, peace, and stillness. And I can remember after only a couple classes going outside again after class, I had kind of the Tai Chi is this really slow flowing movement, and you're really tuning into the felt sense in your body and in your environment. And you're really, by this slow movement and slow breathing, you're calming your brain waves and bringing your heart into coherence. And I can remember going outside right after class and looking up at the sky. It was a night sky. And in that state from Tai Chi, I just felt like I was a part of the sky. I just felt like I was a part of the woods around me. Tai Chi brought me into kind of that state where I just felt, oh, I'm just an expression of life. I'm just a part of all of this. And so it was that practice that I was looking for, that brought me back to that state that I had experienced out in the desert. Yeah. And so I pursued that. I still practice that, but that was what, 37 years ago, something like that. And so I really got into daily Tai Chi practice, and I really dove into that in a deep way. And that led me, so that helped me not just to feel my body as a body awareness, but to feel the energy flow through my body, to feel the flow of energy through the meridians, through the energy centers. And that sort of more subtle level of inner awareness also led me to feel the energy in the environment around me. And when you have a sense of energy, there's not really a boundary between you and what's around you, because it's all just energy, right? It's just different formations of energy, just different swirls of energy within a field of energy. And so it really loosens the boundaries of this sort of small, rigid sense of self, right? It just opens up the boundaries. It just feels like you're just a part of everything, which we are.
Absolutely. And we're more than the physical.
Right. And it gives you a felt sense of, I'm not just this seemingly hard matter, that within this, enfolded within this, is this alive energy system. And this energy is alive in everything, and it connects us all, and we're expressions of it. And so Tai Chi brought me into that, and it led me to the practice of Qigong. And Qigong has moving practices like Tai Chi, but it also has still standing meditations and still seated meditations. And the advantage to being still is that you can go deeper into the felt sense of energy. So when you're moving, you can have a sense of energy flow. When you're still, you can really sense the individual energy centers, and you can really go deep into that felt sense. And through that stillness and that deep sense of energy, you really go beyond your sense of self. You really feel that you are life, that this is just life in a form, and there's life in a form, and life is interacting with life, and it's all one. And so Qigong really deepened that practice of sensing energy and starting to quiet the mind even more, so that you go into a sense of complete stillness and inner silence and complete open space that is kind of the source from which everything arises.
Yeah, beautiful. And what a deep connection. And I can hear the stillness and the peace just in you talking about it. And I read a bit about Qigong when I was looking into it, and I was doing a bit of Tai Chi, and I can't remember the master, but he had his students standing in that hugging the tree pose for 12 months.
Yes.
Before moving on to the next pose. And imagining how I describe it, imagining all those little nice balloons holding up your parts so you can stand in that position for that long. But when you're right, when you get to that sense of oneness, stillness, that huge connection to all that is, there's really no words to describe the feeling of completeness, I guess.
Yes.
In that, and taking that on to the benefits to the human form, when you get to that stillness, I can just name a few off the top of my head. The pain, the mental activity or tiredness and fatigue can begin to drift away when we become more centered within ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we start to realize that the suffering we experience is the way that we are looking at our life, or the way that we are looking at ourselves. It's really all about, because when the mind quiets and there is no mental chatter, that is gone. That, without the mental chatter, there's no worry, there's no anxiety, there's no stress, because that's completely a product of how we are thinking about how we are relating to the situations that we're in, or how we're relating to ourselves, or how we're relating to others.
Yes.
And you recognize that when that activity stops, when the mind is quiet, and you realize, oh, when my mind's quiet, all that is gone.
That's right. And I think also, because we're talking about energy, and this is the stillness, that connection to what is. The energy that comes with the mental activity, like exhaustion, that disappears too. So the health benefits of lowering blood pressure and cholesterol. See, that because the better way of being is all about trying to lift that veil and show that these practices that bring us into stillness, Tai Chi, and everything we're going to be talking about with you can work alongside mainstream to the point where you also almost become your own. You become aware of the negative impact that your thoughts and the energy around you have. You step out of it, you can do so much more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you see that you have a choice.
Yes.
You have choices in what you focus on and how you relate to things.
Absolutely.
And that choice of perspective makes all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a perfect leeway into talking about one of your books. I'd love to talk about, and because we've mentioned the phrase a bit actually, clear the quiet mind. I'll just read this so I'll make sure I get it right. Clear the quiet mind, 4 simple steps to deep inner peace. And in this, the description goes on to say that deep inner peace that you've written, that deep inner peace doesn't depend on circumstances. It doesn't depend on how much money you have or what you own or anything that is happening in the world. That inner peace is always available. And in the book, it goes on, you share 4 simple steps to find our quiet mind. So important for us to have that peace within us. What was your inspiration? And the picture's already building. What was your inspiration for the book? And could you share a little bit more for listeners on that benefit to their way of being when we have this connection to that deep inner peace and a quiet mind?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think the inspiration for the book began in that master's program in phenomenology, in philosophy, that where I really started to understand how it is that we perceive the world the way that we do, how it is that we perceive ourselves the way that we do. And I really started to deeply understand the idea of perspective, and that every experience we have is the result of how we're looking at it. Every experience we have is the result of what we're focused on and how we're relating to that. And so in the book, I talk about this idea of first becoming aware of what your perspective is, becoming aware of where you're coming from at any given moment. So if we can say we're in a moment of stress or anxiety, if we can just pause and take a step back and notice how we're thinking about the situation, notice what we're feeling, just have that mindful pause where we become aware of how the way we're thinking, the way we're approaching something is the source of our stress. So that's the first step. And so the book talks about different ways to become, to step back and become more aware of where we're coming from. Why is it that I'm experiencing stress in this moment? And then secondly, how do we let go of a way of thinking that is causing us stress? How do we let go of the way we think things are? And that's really the crux of it, is when we perceive the world, we think we're seeing things as they are. But we're just seeing things according to a specific point of view that we're engaged in the moment.
Yes.
So if we can recognize what that point of view is and realize, well, that's a choice. That there are infinite number of ways that we could look at anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can let go of the way we think things are and just pause, and if we have a practice that enables us to calm the mind, quiet the mind, calm the emotions, relax the body, then that enables us to let go of the way we think things are, let go of our current perspective that's causing us anxiety or stress, and just rest in an open awareness. And from that, we can notice new possibilities. Right? If we can let go of this is the way it is, that is causing us stress, and just allow the mind to be quiet, allow the emotions to calm, allow the body to relax, then we're open to seeing things in new ways and seeing new possibilities. And the body, heart, and mind is highly intelligent and interconnected with all of life. And life will show us the way to go if we're quiet enough and sensitive enough to open up to it and perceive new possibilities.
Yes, it's like if we begin to step away from or out of the external dialogue that we keep going from external influences and step into our own internal world, we can still be part of the world, but we're doing it from a real power center of self. And like you said, when you quieten the mind, huge possibilities are there, because we've got the wisdom within us to be so super connected to a better way of being and to the life force around us, to make things go smoothly for us and feel so much more at peace with the self.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we experience that we are life itself, it's like there's me and then life. It's not we are life. So life is doing something here and doing something there. And it has a natural flow to it. It has something that's happening here. And when we tune in and allow that flow to come forth, rather than some preconceived ideas that we have, there's a natural flow that is easeful and that just carries us along the way.
Yes, and it is there. And the more this information gets out to the external world, I guess, for using that phrase, the better. I've been working a lot lately with youth, and the anxiety that I'm seeing in youth, and that the straight into panic mode. Oh, it's alarming. You know, this is our future, and I'm trying to bring in some of these. Just stop, connect to how you're feeling, take a breath. Is there a better way you can do this type of processes? Yes, there is, and it's just having that. I guess we really do need to be introducing this. I mean, it's always there. We just step out of it for some reason, in the school systems, so that we can begin to build a stronger way of being for our youth, for our future, not from a sense of stress and fatigued and, but one from calmness. Can you just imagine? Well, I can imagine the world. How beautiful would it be if we all had that mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's really a matter of taking things away so that we can just rest in our natural state of being. So it's just as the thinking mind quiets and as the emotions calm through these practices, there is just a natural peace already there. There's just a natural joy that life has itself. There's a natural sense of openness and compassion that is the nature of life. We have just covered it over with all these narratives and these stress-based stories about what we think life needs to be, when life in itself is intelligent, life in itself is peaceful and joyful. And we just miss that when we're so busy and so consumed in these stories about where we need to get to.
Yes, totally. And to step into the belief sense that it is okay for nothingness. There is so much power in nothingness that is the best place to come from. Really, you'd be standing I try to explain it sometimes to the youth. It's like being the void that in the epicenter of the storm. You can still have everything going on around you, but when you're standing in your bliss center, you can achieve so much more. Yeah. And it's okay not to be caught up in the chaos.
Yes.
You know, there's almost a fear factor being developed nowadays that you've got to have chaos. You don't.
Yeah, it's really just a habit.
Yes, it is, isn't it? And it's okay to try and break it. You know, and yes, it's not going to be easy when we're totally surrounded and when you're first stepping into trying to break the chaos and to find that inner peace. But perseverance. And when you get there, it's just there is no better place to come from.
Yeah, and so people just need to, in our culture, there's not a lot of awareness that that peace is available, that is just the way life is in its natural state.
Yes.
And so, so it's wonderful to have, shows like this where you're, sharing these, what aren't usually taught in the schools, practices and ideas and concepts and awareness.
Yes.
Because this is the antidote to everything that is happening in our society and our global civilization these days, is to return to our natural sense of being and peace and openness and cooperation, which is natural to life.
Yes, exactly. And I know we've just mentioned one book, the Clear the Quiet Mind. I'll get some details from you afterwards and put them up for listeners so they can to go and find that and search that out. And you also have, and you've got a beautiful sign behind you there, you're raising our vibration community, like you said, and you're doing such a marvelous job getting what you do out there to help with bringing that sense of calm and peace, not just to people, but to the earth grid, to connect. So, because we spoke earlier about connecting on a wider scale. With technology, we can now. It's amazing to connect into the grid, to connect to other people around the world. So you're raising our vibration community. You have some awesome, and I'm a member of that, and you have some amazing sharings and meditations on there. And I've recently noticed that you have an app. Could you share with listeners a bit about the community to start with? How did that unfold? And perhaps we lead us to finding out a bit more about the app.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So let's see, in the fall of 2018, really beginning of fall 2018, I had just come back from a trip to Japan, a Reiki trip to Mount Karuna with William Rand.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
Yes.
On the sideline. Awesome.
Yeah, so we were on Mount Karuna. My wife, Monica, and I, you've had Monica on as well. Yes. So we just came back from Japan. The day I get back from Japan, a friend of ours contacts me and says, there's somebody you have to meet. And he lives in Tokyo.
Okay.
I was just there yesterday. I was just in Kyoto yesterday. So anyway, it was kind of ironic, but so we got on chatting with each other and got on Zoom, and this Dr. Ruth Anderson, who runs another conscious community, said, why don't you guys, and she had a channel where she had authors come on, why don't you two, Stephen Altair and me, get on and interview each other about the books that you just wrote. So I had just written Clear Quiet Mind, and he had just written Diary of a Yogi. So we read each other's books, and then we got on and we interviewed each other about our books. And as we did that, we found it was uncanny how many similarities in our life journey and practice. It was remarkable. We're the same age. He's, let's see, 4 months older than I am. And we had both done Tai Chi and Qigong and Reiki and Kriya Yoga. And we just went, and Buddhist meditation, just on and on. We went down the list, and we were, oh yeah, okay. And we just had everything. It was kind of getting together with somebody, and everything you say, they know exactly what you're talking about.
Parallel
And
life.
yeah, it was pretty remarkable.
Wow.
And so we said we should, there's something here.
Yes.
Let's have regular weekly meetings and see what comes out of that. So we set up Zoom meetings. This was before Zoom was really a thing.
Yes.
But but we knew about it, and we set up weekly Zoom meetings, and we just started guiding each other in practice and sharing our practices together and talking about the ways that we had taught these practices over the years. And we developed out of those meetings, weekly meetings, they eventually became twice a week and then 3 times a week. And
I love the way things go like that.
yeah, it just organically, naturally developed.
Yes.
And we came up with this series of 2 basic inner skills that we teach, interoception and mindfulness, and a 7-step meditation process that we call subtle energy meditation. So it's based on sensing the subtle energy system and going through that as a means to this deep sense of open, clear, spacious, non-dual awareness. So we started working this out and we got together because we had both been teaching for decades, but it was amazing that we taught pretty much the same steps. And so we said, well, let's really clarify what those are. And they were 7 steps. And so we said, well, let's write a book about this. And in order to do that, we really wanted to get a group of people together to start guiding them in this practice and learn from them about how it worked for them, right? So we wanted to have live participants and feedback. And so we got together a group. We called it Raising Our Vibration Core Group. And we had these Muse brainwave sensing headbands that we all used to sense our brainwaves while we were doing the practice and to track the shifts in brainwaves as we went through the different steps of the practice. And so we started guiding people weekly through these practices. And then out of that, we wrote this book and developed a 10-week course called the Raising Our Vibration Subtle Energy Meditation course. And so that's a 10-week course that we offer now. Next one we'll be offering starts in January. And we have a current one going now. And then, so we wrote the book, and then we have the course that is based on the book. And the book is Raising Our Vibration, a Guide to Subtle Energy Meditation, and that's on Amazon. And then what we found was people really like these guided meditations. They find that this process is really something that even if they'd struggled with meditation before or found, oh, I can't quiet my mind or whatever it is, that I can't sit still, I can't whatever, we found that people really took to these guided meditations. And so we recorded the whole series of meditations, and we had them on MP3 form. And I had also for years, for the last, 15 years, been recording meditation. So I had probably well over 100 guided meditations already recorded. And so my son is an app programmer. And he came to me one day after he saw what we were doing. He's like, well, we should write an app for you guys.
Oh, wow.
And so he designed this app, and we loaded all the meditations onto it. And yeah, so that's been out there now for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. and it's called ROV meditation. And yeah, so it has all the guided meditations there. It's really, you know, all you have to do is click on the app, push play, and follow along. So it really makes meditation really easy for people.
Excellent. And that is good to hear, because it is easy, but you know, when you're first stepping into meditation, you do it, you know, the monkey mind and a lot of chatter and, oh no, I'm going to give up on this, it's too hard.
Right. And you think, oh, I'm doing it wrong if
Yes,
I'm having all these thoughts, and that's
but
just
it's
not
part of the
true.
process. That's
Right.
right.
It's really, we learn how to mindfully relate to whatever happens,
Yes.
so that we observe it with curiosity and gentleness and compassion, whatever arises. Yeah, all those million thoughts that come through your mind, or those uncomfortable feelings in your body or your emotions as you start to meditate, that's all part of the process. A lot of people think, oh, well, your book's called Clear Quiet Mind. I'm trying to have a clear quiet mind, I can't. Well, that's really not how the process works. It works by being present and aware with everything that's happening, and gentle and kind and compassionate with ourselves, and just changing that relationship to ourselves, which then ends up changing our relationship to others and all of life.
Yes, we become conscious of these things happening within us, but that's perfect, because then, like you said, you can step away from that and just be mindful of the process, see it, allow it, witness.
Yes.
And
And in that process, the mind naturally quiets. When I'm gentle toward my thoughts, if I'm trying to push them away or not have them, resistance creates more of whatever you're resisting.
exactly.
So if you can just welcome it, like I learned that in Tai Chi. In Tai Chi, if a force is coming at you, you engage it, you bring it in, you get to know what it is, and then you just make a little movement, and it just flows on through. So it's the same with our thoughts in meditation. We learn how to engage with curiosity and gentleness and kindness with whatever's happening in our body, heart, and mind. And that relationship to what's happening, that awareness, that curiosity, just the mind that's chattering just starts to go, oh, okay. I don't have to fight so hard. Oh, it's okay if I'm all stressed out and anxious at this moment, and you're just accepting me, and you just kind of accept yourself the way you are, right?
Yes.
And you're just kind and gentle with yourself, and in that kindness and gentleness, the mind relaxes, the body relaxes, the emotions calm, and things start to quiet down,
Yes,
and there's a
it's
natural peace.
yes, and it's like you become true friends with yourself, the whole package, you know,
Yeah.
and that there's peace in friendship,
Yes.
you know, because you feel comfortable, you feel okay, you feel good, and there's a real loving vibration surrounded in that.
Yes.
We can have that for ourselves. Yeah.
Yes, it's available right here.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. So we've already mentioned that you've got your training coming up in January next year.
Mhm.
How can listeners find out more about the Raising Your Vibration Subtle Energy course? Where would you direct them to?
Yeah, so we have a web page up that
Yes.
has most of the things that we offer on it. It's raisingourvibration.net.
.net.
Raisingourvibration.net. And on there, you'll find a link, a short description of the book and a link to it on Amazon. You'll find short description of the app and links to it either on the App Store or the Play Store. And you also find information on the course. And we've actually, there's lots of testimonials on there, so you can get a sense for what people experience in the course. But we also have a very detailed outline of everything that we cover in the course. So you know from A to Z everything that's going to happen in the 10-week course. And then if you want a taste of what this is like, Stephen and I just recorded and put up a mini course that's just 2 hours long on Udemy. I don't know if you've heard of that site,
Yes.
udemy.com. And you can learn anything on Udemy. But we put out a course called The Inner Secret, How to Live a Calm and Centered Life. So if you put in all those words,
Yes.
The Inner Secret, How to Live a Calm and Centered Life, you'll get a 2-hour course that's broken into 5 to 10 minute videos. So it's something you can real easily, like, just do it for 5 or 10 minutes here, and the next day to 5 or 10 minutes, and so on. And, within a short time, you'll have the whole 2 hours. And it's really an introduction to the whole approach that we take in the larger 10-week course. So if people want just a taste, and okay, I'm not sure if I want to do the 10 weeks, but let me try out this 2-hour course and see what these guys are all about, and see how it feels. You'll start to experience this felt sensation of deep peace in your body, heart, and mind.
Wonderful. And I will put those details in the description part of this episode on the podcast, so people can also go in and have a look at that, so they can get clear direction as to where to find that. And
Great.
Do you also have any other outlets that people can, like Facebook or Instagram, that they can also go
yeah,
and look at? Yeah.
Also, if you go to that raisingourvibration.net, at the very top, there's a link to our Facebook community.
Beautiful.
So you can just click on there. It's called Raising Our Vibration Community Facebook page. So we'd love to have people in there, and we post all kinds of great articles. And I mean, it's a vibrant community now. So
absolutely is.
It's not just Stephen and I posting. It's all kinds of different like-minded people who are about raising our collective consciousness and living from a deeper sense of peace and love and light. And so that's community on Facebook, and we'd love to see you there. We run a global meditation every month that you can join in. It's just what we do, one of the things we do for the community. And then we post, Stephen and I record YouTube videos pretty much every week, and we post them on the Facebook page as well.
Oh, excellent. Yes, I'll have all those details in there, and the community, you can feel the vibe, the peace, the love, the calmness.
Nice.
Just scrolling through it. Yeah, well done with that, and for everything that you're doing. It's been absolutely fantastic. I feel so chilled and relaxed. Your vibration, and because you are centered in what you're doing, and that's when we are all centered in what we're doing. The pureness of us is out there for everybody to sense and be aware of. And again, like you're raising consciousness, and how important for the earth, for us, our human beings, our light here, to be able to explore the highest frequency possible for us. Why not? At the end, or to me personally, that's what we came here for, to experience the highest consciousness, highest vibration possible in this heavy body. It's not a easy task to be so light in the heaviness, but once you meet it, wow, there's magic that can happen here on earth. Heaven is here on earth. So thank you for...
Yeah, there's a real transformation that's readily available.
Yes.
And what each of us does feeds out into the collective. So what each of us does adds to all of us. So thank you, Sharon, for what you're doing and for this wonderful podcast. I really appreciate being on and just seeing what you're doing, and really appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being here, shining your light. And listeners, please take a look at the contact details in the description, and go over and check out everything that Kevin's offering. Thank you for all blessings.
Thank you, Sharon, and thank you all for watching and listening.